Parents in the audience? Let's recognize. Thank you for sharing with us this evening, and very impressive that you choreographed that on your own, so thank you very much. It is 7 p.m. and I would like to call this meeting to order. I would first like to invite our NVAA dance students to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. May I have roll call, please?
Mrs. Greenberg,
Here.
Mrs. Bacon,
Here.
Mr. Laney,
Here.
Mrs. Matura,
Here.
Mrs. Case.
Here. All right, next on the agenda is approval of agenda. Dr. Bales.
Thank you, President Matura. Items approved by consent will not come up for discussion during the meeting, but will be approved when the agenda is adopted. This is possible since members of the governing board receive the agenda along with backup materials at least 24 hours prior to the meeting and have time to review and consider all items. Prior to the agenda being adopted, members of the governing board or audience may ask that an item be removed from the consent agenda and brought to the floor for discussion at the appropriate time on the agenda. I'd like to offer the agenda as posted with the following exceptions. I'd like to move G12 and G16 to the approval agenda items.
Does any member of the governing board wish to have an item removed from the consent agenda? Does any member of the audience wish to have an item removed from the consent agenda? Seeing none, Mrs. Greenberg, may I have a motion to approve the meeting agenda and recommended consent agenda items G1 to G12, moving agenda items G12 and G16 to items under approval for H1 and H2 will now become those items.
So moved.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Motion passes unanimously. Next on the agenda is governing board statements. And I would like to start this evening because I'm sure you all noticed that we have a new governing board member with us this evening. And I wanted to wish a welcome to our new board member, Michael Laney. We are so glad to have you join us in serving the Paradise Valley Unified School District. And I look forward to working with you. I also wanted to take the opportunity to thank everyone who expressed an interest in serving our community, and it really was nice to see people that were interested in being a part of the board and serving the students and the community of our district. So thank you very much. And Mr. Laney, would you like to go next?
Thank you, Mrs. Matura. Thank you. I'm grateful and humbled to have been invited to fill this important position at Paradise Valley Unified School Board. Before I submitted my application, I discussed this opportunity with my family. I publicly thank them for their support and understanding in me fulfilling the responsibilities of this service. Thank you, board members. I appreciate you reaching out to me in this transition and look forward to working with you, Dr. Bells, and the Paradise Valley staff. Thank you for all the hard work you do on behalf of our district. I've attended many school board meetings, always in the back, quietly thinking about how I would do things if I were in this position. I've stood and spoke at only one district board meeting, so many of you don't know me. You may be wondering where I stand on issues and what my priorities are. The answer to those two questions are the students in our schools. I'm a product of public schools. My father was a school teacher where I was raised in Kirksville, Missouri. I have 4 children. 2 of them have already graduated from Arriza High School, and the other 2 are still in the PB school district. I have been involved in public schools for 45 years as a student, a son of a teacher, and now as a parent of students. I want what is best for all our children who attend any school in the district. I will work with Paradise Valley staff with honesty and integrity to find solutions that meet their needs and enhance the value of their teachers. Finally, I've often told my own children, don't try, just do. I'm here to do and give back to this community by helping our children navigate their experience through our public schools and emerge as strong, well-educated citizens. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Greenberg?
I'd also like to welcome Mr. Laney to the board, and I'm very much looking forward to serving with you. And I do also want to thank all of the individuals who submitted applications. It's an interesting time to be a governing board member, and I appreciate everybody who stepped up to want to fill that position for our community. And I also just want to say, I hope everybody had a chance to unplug and play this past weekend. And even though we aren't officially unplugging and playing going forward, I hope everybody still does when they have the opportunity. So thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Case?
Thank you. Many things are going on and changing in the nation, and school boards are being picked on. And so I just want to say, Mr. Laney, it seems like you're being really brave to try to do this right now. We had the opportunity to look at people's resumes and answers to questions for those who submitted to be appointed to the board, and I'd never met, or I didn't know what he looked like. And when I walked in, I thought it was Dr. Lee sitting there tonight. But I just want to say that when I was reading through the different answers to questions, I appreciate what Mr. Laney said about wanting to bring people together. And I'd never met him. I'm hoping that, I don't know who he is, but I'm hoping to get to know him, and I welcome him to the board. And I'm grateful for the opportunity to work with people who care about this district and who know our district. If he's had kids in the district this long, he knows our district pretty well. And right now, he probably feels like a fire hose is in the mouth. I remember those feelings a lot. Just reading through the board book for tonight was a lot of information. You don't know what to pay attention to, what not to. There's a learning curve. But and I really appreciate that he has children. I've been trying to get people to run for the board for a really long time who have children in the district. And I have had 7 children go through this district, but we need people who on the board who currently have children in the district. So I just appreciate you being willing to step forth, and welcome and enjoy the ride.
Thank you, Mrs. Case. And Mrs. Bacon?
Yes, of course, I also want to welcome Mr. Laney to the board. We're happy to have you on the team. I also want to thank everyone who applied. The fact that anyone applied is a little bit shocking, frankly, because it has been a difficult time for school board members. But I'm very heartened to see so many people committed to and caring about PV schools. I'd like to thank County Superintendent of Schools, Steve Watson, for the speedy way in which he was able to get this done, because there is a lot of work to do, and we appreciate his commitment and feedback and dedication to students. So welcome to the team. We're happy to have you. There's one other thing I wanted to mention too was on Saturday, the Prada del Sol parade happened. And one of the our volunteers from our Volunteer in Paradise program was recognized as a Scottsdale All-Star for the work that she does as a volunteer in our school district. Kathy McKeever, it was a retired person. She was looking for a little bit of something to do. And now she's doing a lot by volunteering in our schools and working closely with the coordinators of VIP. I'm really proud of the work that she does. As you may know, she was a Point of Light recipient. And so that's an organization that honors those in the community who do good every day, using their hearts, hands, and minds to strengthen communities and solve persistent problems. So I want to thank Kathy for the work that she's done. I want to thank every single VIP. We have over 100 volunteers in the school district. It is a minimal investment by the district to get really good people in our schools working with students so that they can be as successful as possible. So I wanted to thank every volunteer in our schools, but particularly Kathy. I wanted to recognize her this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is awards and recognitions. Dr. Bales.
Thank you very much, President Mature, governing board members, guests, and cabinet. At this time, I'd like to turn over to Mr. Droege, who will be our MC. Matt?
Good evening, President Matura, governing board members, Dr. Bales, members of cabinet, and attendees both in person and virtual. Tonight, we have several employee recognitions to share with you. Our first honorees this evening completed a rigorous process to earn the elite status of being a National Board Certified Teacher. Tonight, we're honoring 5 teachers who have earned their National Board certification and 4 teachers who have completed the process to maintain their NBCT certification. Only 3% of the U.S. teaching force has achieved the National Board Certified Teachers certification, so this is definitely an accomplishment. Tonight, our honorees are Pamela Folk of Sunrise Middle School, Miriam Shantz Marion of Eagle Ridge Elementary School, Kelly Rom of Greyhawk Elementary School, John Trenton of Pinnacle High School, Reagan Winters of Boulder Creek Elementary School, Rachel Cohen of Larkspur Elementary School, Heather Fleming of Quail Run Elementary School, Teresa Smith of Pinnacle High School, and Leanne Wolkis Goldstein of Fireside Elementary School. Please join me in recognizing these amazing teachers. Our next recognition are for the recipient of Paradise Valley Education Support Professionals of the Month. Presenting this award is PVSEA President, Ms. Michelle Courtright.
President Matura, Governing Board, Dr. Bales, and Cabinet. This is the very first time that we have recognized 2 employees at the same time. And we are going to recognize Therese Meza and Jenny Matano-Terry. They are both translators in the Language Acquisition Department. And we were told that they are such a cohesive team that we could not recognize one without the other. And I want you to think about the size of our district and the amount of things that go home to parents and the diverse population that we have. And we have 2 translators that take care of the superintendent messages, the COVID letter templates, the PV prepared plan, school emergency letters, dual enrollment packets, marketing things, video transcripts, and along with all the things that teachers and principals want to send home on a daily basis to parents. Many times they're given 1 day because it's that important. And translation is not just looking at it and saying, well, this word translate to this word. They have to understand the meaning, the concept. Everything we want to say needs to be translated, and these 2 do it very, very well. We have principals that have said their attitude is exemplary. And I think the biggest one that was said was by Jerry Withers. And I've noticed a pattern with the ESPs that we have had this year. Jerry says, during the past year and a half, with all the challenges and stress that came with COVID, it's always a joy to talk to Therese and Jenny, as they always brighten my day with an upbeat, do anything attitude. The world needs more people like Therese and Jenny. And these are the kind of ESPs that we have in our district. And that's why we can honestly say, welcome to paradise. Thank you.
Coming from the marketing and communications department, I must say we could not do our jobs without their help, so we extend our thanks as well. Our final recognition this evening is for the recipient of the Paradise Valley Education Association's Recognition of Professional Standards Award for Teachers. This honoree will be introduced by Ms. Susie Seep, PVEA, President.
Right. Good evening, President Matura, Dr. Bales, Governing Board, and Cabinet. I am so pleased to celebrate PBA Props tonight that I might have gotten a little overdressed. But this person's so worthy of the celebration, I really couldn't help myself. Rosemary Jacob is a resource teacher at Pinnacle. She was nominated this time. We get a nomination for her every year by her colleague, Katie Fizz. Katie says that Rosemary's been the glue that holds us together over the last couple of years. We've had some teacher leaders leave us. It's always Rosemary that steps up. Pinnacle High School has not only navigated the pandemic, we've done so with new administration, lots of new teachers and support staff. She's always trying to be a part of the solution. Even now, we're down several staff. Rosemary rises to the occasion to best meet the needs of our students. She always has a friendly smile. She's a concerned confidant. I'm not sure how she does it all, but we're so fortunate that she does. I know we would be in pieces without her leadership and support. Thank you, Rosemary. You are much appreciated and we love you. In addition to the incredible work that Rosemary does during the tough times, I just need you to know that she's joyous in all of her work. It's for her that very reason that she got involved with PBA's Prom Boutique in its very first year. PBA's Prom Boutique has helped over 150 students in 5 years. We started very, very small. But with all the donations we've been collecting for 2 years with no proms, we'll be able to help at least that many this year, if not more, if we have the need. Our students come and get outfitted, not just with dresses, suits, and ties, but with handbags and costume jewelry, makeup, socks, and belts. They are entered into raffles for gifts that are donated by members of our community that allow them to get their hair and nails done, be photographed by a professional, or go out for a fun dinner. I really wanted Rosemary's celebration to be an especially joyous one for all of us because she brings so much joy to so many people. When I'm having a tough day, she sends me pictures of her very handsome pit bull, Seymour Wigglebutts. It doesn't always take a miracle, but it does take a lot of energy to meet all of our kids' needs. Rosemary is the picture of both, and I thank her for being a colleague who makes me so proud to be in Paradise. Thank you, Rosemary. Over there. Rosemary is amazing, but so are all of the other people that came up with the idea of the Prom Boutique: April Gladden, Heather Schmidt, the people like Mary McKay, Catherine Goshert, Leah Knabley, Diane Siekman, and lots of teacher volunteers. I really wanted tonight to be fun and whimsical. I wore the sweater so I wouldn't lose my wallflower credibility, but I really wanted everyone to remember that teachers have so much passion for these kids. We do so much. And really, I want you all to understand that we love these kinds of events. We're so excited to get started. So we're going to start promoting, asking for donations. Thank you for the suits. Mr. Long isn't here. He brought me some suits recently. But please, if you know people, if you have donations, let us know. And we're going to do really amazing work this year. Thank you for joining the governing board, Mr. Laney. I had the privilege of teaching 2 of your boys, so I'm very happy to have you here. Thank you, everyone.
And that concludes this evening's recognitions.
Okay, next on the agenda is call to the public. We are about to convene call to the public, which allows the public the opportunity to address the board. Although state law does not require that we hold a call to the public, we have chosen to do so because we believe it is crucial for us to hear from our community about concerns and issues. Having said that, please note that the board is here to listen. Call to the public is not designed to be a discussion. Due to Arizona open meeting law, the governing board cannot respond to, discuss, or take any action on items brought up during this time. However, staff members may be directed to get back to you to address individual concerns. Additionally, I want to remind you that in lieu of speaking tonight, you may choose to submit written comments to the board by completing a public comment form on the district homepage. All comments submitted by noon today have been provided to each governing board member and to the superintendent's office in advance of tonight's meeting. Tonight, we have 3 people who have submitted comment cards prior to the start of the meeting. Each speaker will have 3 minutes for remarks. Those who have asked to speak on agenda items will be recognized at the appropriate time during the meeting. As a reminder, the point of this and every board meeting is to accomplish the business at hand and to be able to do so openly and collaboratively. All in attendance are expected to observe our meeting rules as well as rules of politeness and decorum so that we may serve as an example to our students that issues can be discussed in a respectful and civil manner. Please state your first and last name when you come to the podium. Our first speaker is Jennifer Arriza.
Can you hear me? Yep, okay. Hi, my name is Jennifer Arriza, and I stand here tonight as a concerned parent in the Paradise Valley School District. And first, I would like to say I do really appreciate the opportunity to speak and that you allow people to do so. Tonight, as we welcome Michael Laney to his new position, I would also like to ask each of the other members of the board to just ponder and ask yourself, why did you stand up to volunteer for this school board? I would hope that it would have been to ensure the welfare of the families in this school district. I stand here tonight to declare that pornography should not be allowed in our schools. Pornography is used to train and desensitize people and increase demand for human trafficking. Porn users often seek to act out what they have seen and read in pornography. Additionally, porn users demand a constant stream of new, increasingly violent and fetishized content. In order to keep up with this demand, more women and children become prostituted and trafficked. And I'm sure that you all know that pedophiles cultivate a friendly relationship that investigators call grooming. It could continue for days or weeks before pedophiles begin bringing up sexual topics or asking for explicit pictures from children. And pedophiles can be master manipulators. It's important to note that young people can be victimized by sexually explicit material. Have any of you known someone who's been a victim of human sex trafficking? Do you know that Arizona is home to the largest human sex trafficking recovery program? Do you know that we are taking elementary age children into this program? So if we know that pornography is used by pedophiles to groom children, and if we know that pornography is a gateway to human trafficking, then I have to challenge each of our school board members and ask you to never allow pornographic material to be in our schools while on your watch. And in closing, I do have to say it's very unfortunate that our school board feels like they are being picked on. I would hope that the board recognizes that as citizens, we are called to stand up to ensure the welfare of our communities. And when the citizens see that the school board is not ensuring the welfare of our children, I would hope that parents and people in our community would continue to stand up and fight for the children. Thank you.
Next, we have Sandra Christensen.
Thank you, President Matura, and welcome Mr. Laney as a new board member. Today, I would like to talk about an incident that happened at Arriza High School, and I'm not here to complain. I'm here to offer some constructive criticism. There was an emergency situation last month, and as a parent, I got a text from my son saying, "Mom, we're evacuating." And he was at lunch, and I said, "Okay, do I need to come pick you up? How serious?" He says, "I don't know. They're not telling us anything." And I said, "Okay." So I waited. I checked my email. I am receiving text messages now, and I didn't receive anything. So I said, "Okay, I'll call the school." So I called the school, but then of course it dawned on me, well, if they evacuated, nobody's going to be there to answer the phone. So I thought, well, maybe they'll roll it to the district, but that didn't happen. So 15 minutes later, I called the school district and they said, oh, I didn't know there was an emergency at Horizon High School. So let me forward you to the assistant superintendent. And they actually did know that there was a gas leak, and they said, we don't have any information, Mrs. Christensen. All we can do is let you know that Southwest Gas is on the scene. And I said, okay, great. Do I need to pick up my son or daughter? My son. And they said no. I said, okay. So I waited again, and then I get another text from my son. We're on the football field. I'm going, okay, you know, our school's going to contact me any minute now. And it wasn't until 45 minutes after I received the first text, and after I had called the school twice, and I called the district office until I got a text message saying, oh, everything's fine. We have an emergency, but all the kids are safe. And I'm like, okay, great. And then I get a text from my son saying, Mom, come pick me up. People are being picked up. So I was really confused. I looked through my email. I did get the same email message that said, oh, we're waiting. They were still on an on-hold period. So I ended up pausing because I was in meetings, and then I ended up driving to Horizon. I saw lots of children walking down the street, and then I saw a lot of kids lined up. And this was about an hour and a half after the first text message that I got from my son. And then finally I see my son lined up, and then he gets in the car and he said, Mom, they said we could go back to class. But so it was kind of interesting. And then school ends, I know my time is ending, but school ends at 2:10, and then I get a email from the principal about 45 minutes after that saying, oh, kids can go back to class. So just, you know, next time maybe notify the district sooner, and so they can notify parents. So thank you.
Okay, and next up we have Nicole Lutwick.
For volunteering. I just wanted to talk a little bit about masks. I haven't talked about masks for a very long time, but everything's changing, right? We have people and states and countries all dropping restrictions. And so I do want to say I'm thankful that UPC gave parents a chance to voice their opinion about COVID and all of the restrictions we've been doing. But I also want to say I was disappointed this survey, the way it was designed, did not give, it prevented certain views from being shared. For instance, you could say as a parent that you wanted an option for more or less or the same amount of emails, but there was no option to say that you wanted less masks, and there was no option to say you wanted less quarantines. I know parents who actually refused to do the survey because it didn't represent what they wanted. They did not want it to be used as a tool to say that they wanted the current option, and there was no better option for them to choose. I also want to note there was about 250 respondents, so less than 1% of our total school was, district was represented. So just preemptively, I want to say, please don't use that statistic as a crutch to say parents love the opt-out, because it did not ask that question. It just asked if that was the best option on the survey, which wasn't very many. And I also want to remind that on the first day of school, 80% of families at my kids' schools sent their kids mask-free. It wasn't until they were faced with the decision of letting their kids be quarantined, potentially indefinitely, that they put masks on, because that's what we were told we had to do. It was kind of coercion. Masking is not an ordinary step. It's an extraordinary step, and it should require extraordinary evidence. And as of right now, I haven't seen it. The survey, the information that we've gotten that has supported masks are outliers of dozens and dozens and dozens of surveys, or sorry, I keep saying surveys, of studies that show that masks have no statistical significance in helping slow the spread. The one that has been pointed to is 3.5, it was in Arizona, 3.5 times less spread if you have a mask restriction. That study has been found to have included online schools, vocational schools, did not adjust for the fact that some schools were in, it was only a 6-week long study. It did not account for some schools were in in session for 3 days and some for 3 weeks. It didn't account for vaccination rates. It didn't account for any of those things. One person actually said, a data researcher said, the study was so unreliable that it should not have even entered the public discourse. We have to have evidence. We are trying to raise critical thinkers who go to source material. I see it in my syllabuses for my kids. I see it in our mission statements. I would think surely as a board, we would stand and ask ourselves to do the same thing. Thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda is Dr. Bales.
Thank you, President Matura, and welcome, Mr. Laney. I too am looking forward to working with you, and through our phone calls, email, and transition meetings, particularly today, I believe you're going to make a very positive impact on our district in your service as a governing board member, so welcome. Starting off tonight, comments, I'd like to address the aggregate expenditure limit, or AEL. It's critical that our legislators vote to override the aggregate expenditure limit this fiscal year. Doing so allows districts across the state to use originally approved funding that was approved by the legislators in June. If legislators don't override the AEL this year, it will result in a reduction of approximately 16% to operating funds for PV schools. That's roughly $35.9 million, and this cut would need to be made before the end of the fiscal year. Our students can't afford another disruption in their learning. So if the AEL isn't overridden, districts will have to make difficult decisions. This is a massive issue, and not every district can do what we plan to do. Our plan is to keep the doors open, to continue to pay staff, and to move forward with the funding that legislators promised and that they appropriated last June in the budget that they passed. While this may mean that we move into a, quote, over expenditure status, it's the right thing to do. It's the right thing to do for our students. It's the right thing to do for our parents. I remain confident that our legislators will do the right thing and solve their issue by March 1st. Once they have this issue addressed for this fiscal year, my hope is that they will address the AEL moving forward, because schools will continue to hit this limit each year in the future if it isn't fixed. We need legislators to create a more permanent solution for AEL and update the funding formula that's associated with it that currently uses numbers from 1980. Thank you to the parents and business community members that have already reached out to legislators to encourage them to solve their problem. And if you haven't and you'd like to, I encourage you as parents and community partners to reach out to legislators, express how important it is to support our students here in PB schools and across Arizona by finding a solution to the aggregate expenditure limit. As some of you may be aware, we had an incident last week that used anti-Semitic imagery. I was shocked and disappointed, to say the least. We value our Jewish community and share in the sorrow inflicted by this incident. In fact, it hurts our community as a whole, regardless of whether one is Jewish or not. PB Schools is committed to fighting anti-Semitism. Laddie Core once said, "You don't judge an organization by its problems, judge them by the solutions they bring to those problems." We responded quickly and appropriately, and I'm grateful for the parents, Rabbi Schaffman, Paul Rockauer, and many other Jewish community leaders who have talked with me over the last week and shown their support for PB Schools, students, and parents. PB Schools values its partnership with the Anti-Defamation League, and many of our schools participate in the ADL No Place for Hate program. For 2021 school year, Eagle Ridge, Greenway Middle School, Mountain Trail Middle School, and Vista Verde either engaged or received the No Place for Hate designation for creating safe and respectful learning environments and bringing awareness to the issues of bullying and bias. Each school takes its own approach to implement and instill the values of ADL No Place for Hate motto in students and staff members. Other schools in our district with a No Place for Hate program include Explore, Shea, are also in the beginning stages in Paradise Valley High School, who recently conducted a student assembly. February is Black History Month, which pays tribute to the contributions of generations of African Americans. And this year's theme celebrated throughout the nation is Black Health and Wellness, celebrating the many contributions and breakthroughs of Black professionals in the area of health and wellness. It is my hope that the recognitions we celebrate this month continue throughout the year. This week is also National School Counselor Week, which recognizes the contributions of school counselors and highlights the impact school counselors have in helping students overcome barriers to achieve academic success and plan for the future. I want to extend my thanks and gratitude to our dedicated school counselors who work tirelessly every day to help our students see excellence. I had the privilege of speaking with just one of those as an example earlier today. Jackie from Paradise Valley High School is one of those examples, and she is in the process of completing so far 88 one-on-one interviews and appointments and registrations with students who are coming from the private and parochial setting but are choosing our district. So thank you, Jackie, as on behalf of all of our great counselors. As Mrs. Bacon mentioned, Kathy McKeever was recognized this weekend. We are so proud of her and our Volunteer in Paradise program. And she was recognized by the mayor, David Ortega, last Saturday. So honored. And so thank you, Kathy. Please join me as join us as select band students from our elementary, middle, and high school students perform in the PB Schools District Honor Orchestra on Saturday, February 12th at 1 p.m. in the Performing Arts Center at Horizon High School. This event is a great opportunity to see extreme talent that we have here in PV schools from across our district. On February 21st through the 25th, we will celebrate Public Schools Week, a national celebration to highlight the great things happening in our nation's public schools, as well as bring attention to the critical issues facing our schools, students, and educators. We'd like to thank our staff members, parents, students, and community members for being partners in education. Thank you for your continued support of our students on their many journeys of excellence. It's greatly appreciated. If you're looking for a preschool opportunity for your little one, PV Schools Preschool Universe is the perfect event for you. This virtual information night, held on February 24th from 5:45 p.m. to 7 p.m., provides parents with all the essential details about neighborhood preschool options in PB. Please visit pbschools.net, where we've published an article with all the details and pre-registration information. In partnership with the Maricopa County Public Health Department, PB Schools continues to partner and announces another free COVID vaccine clinic for anyone ages 5 and up, Thursday, March 3rd from 4 to 7 p.m. at North Canyon High School. For information, here's the phone number, 602-506-6767. It's also available on our website. Next, I'd like to acknowledge February as Career and Technical Education Month. With 22 individual programs at our high schools, along with a partnership with WestMac, our CTE students enjoy a head start on a path towards the fastest growing careers. Our outstanding CTE teachers prepare our students by providing them with cutting-edge training and opportunities no matter which CTE program our students follow. Ms. Becky McGowan and guest will present for us tonight. Becky is our Director of CTE Programs. Good evening, Becky.
Good evening, President Matura, Governing Board, Dr. Bells, Cabinet, and guests. Although February is the shortest month of the year, it brings many things to celebrate. Black History Month lets us celebrate our diversity. Valentine's Day lets us celebrate each other and our loved ones. And CTE Month lets us celebrate the many opportunities that we are able to provide our students through our career and technical education programs. With us tonight to highlight one of the 22 CTE programs that we have in our district is Ira Puranik, who is president of HOSA for our CREST Bioscience program. Ira will be verifying that CTE is indeed alive and well in our district.
Thank you, Ms. McGowan, for the lovely introduction. Good evening, President Matura, Governing Board, Superintendent Bills, Cabinet, and all other guests present with us today. I would like to begin by thanking you all so much for providing me with this wonderful opportunity to present about HOSA Future Health Professionals. My name is Ira Puranik, and I am the current president of CREST Bioscience HOSA at Paradise Valley High School. HOSA Future Health Professionals is a national organization of secondary and post-secondary students that supports career development in health professions and improvement of health services delivery to the general population. I joined HOSA in my freshman year and was enthralled by the opportunities I was presented with. So I became deeply involved with this organization, and it provided me with valuable knowledge and enriching experiences, enabling me to thrive both as a HOSA member and high school student. Today, I will be discussing how HOSA has enhanced my skill set, as well as the opportunities and benefits presented by this wonderful organization. Oh, the green button. Oh, sorry. Okay. Firstly, HOSA allows students to augment their leadership skills to prepare them for success in their future careers. As you can see here, we have a wonderful group of high school students who volunteer their time to serve as executive board officers in order to make sure the events that we organize and host run as smoothly as possible. Our lovely advisors, Miss Amanda Cherry and Mrs. Michelle Launderville, mentor us and help us combat any nooks and crannies we encounter throughout our journey. Without them, HOSA would probably not be nearly as successful as it is now. With HOSA, you are able to enter into a world of new possibilities you never even knew existed. Members participate in activities throughout the various conferences hosted by the local, state, and national HOSA organizations. They are presented with the opportunity to participate in interactive workshops, which improves one's skills and knowledge, preparing them for the workforce. Our chapter also hosts guest speakers. We've had a variety of professionals such as a pulmonologist, a physician assistant, a geriatrician, a petty officer first class in the Navy, and CREST alumni, and they presented about their day-to-day life and tips on how to succeed in their professions, as well as the education leading up to it. We also organized a hands-on suturing lab hosted by Grand Canyon University, where students got to practice suturing on silicone pads, where they received the opportunity to simulate the surgical experience. The first conference we attend is hosted by Arizona HOSA, and it is called the Fall Leadership Conference. It is located at the Phoenix Convention Center in downtown Phoenix. Here we get to participate in a variety of workshops which hone the skills necessary for the healthcare field. Some of the ones I attended were called How to Get into Medical School, Networking with Others, Internship Opportunities, and a special one called Dead Men Do Tell Tales, where we were introduced to the world of forensic science and were taught how to read autopsies. This one was my personal favorite. As you can see in the picture at the top, we also have a yearly tradition called Flexing for FLC, where members simultaneously perform yoga poses and prepare for the conference to de-stress before the big day, maximizing their enjoyment at FLC. Through the regional, state, and international leadership conferences, students are able to compete in an event of their choice, which presents them with the opportunity to strengthen their academic and technical skills and build self-confidence, motivation, and enthusiasm, which they can then transfer to their real-world endeavors. HOSA offers 81 different competitions in many different categories, as shown above, guaranteeing members to find a competition of their interest, as well as allowing them to further many skills necessary to be successful in whichever career path they desire to pursue. HOSA members also get to give back to their community through volunteering and organizing fundraisers. This year, we hosted a hygiene drive and we collected items such as shampoo, conditioner, baby hygiene items, toilet paper, and many others for U Mom New Day centers, whose mission is to prevent and end homelessness with innovative strategies and housing solutions that meet the unique needs of each family and individual. We also organized fundraisers, such as a walkathon, where students host a sponsor who pledge a certain amount of money for each lap they walk, a Wheel of Fun fundraiser, where students spin a wheel filled with dares, and whichever dare the wheel lands on, they get to perform it on one of our officers in front of all the members. And there's a picture of me getting pie-faced on the left. We also host a Goggle Night fundraiser, where students pay money to buy and decorate goggles so cool and snazzy during labs. There's a trivia night where families and members can test their trivia skills, and this is typically our biggest fundraiser of the year, and a fundraiser at Sky Zone Trampoline Park. And all of the proceeds made from these fundraisers are donated to Be the Match Foundation, which is a bone marrow transplantation matching organization. HOSA has enabled me to flourish through building my public speaking, leadership, and organization skills, as well as making an impact on our community by allowing me to participate in service activities. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask me, and I'll be happy to answer them. Once again, thank you so much for allowing me to present. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your evening. Thank you.
Thank you so very, very much. Finally, I feel compelled to express my pride in our district and community. It's been a challenging year. However, our community remains committed to seeing our students succeed on their journey of excellence. And President Matura, that concludes my comments this evening.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is items for approval. Dr. Bales, first up will be consideration and approval to award RFP 22-06 PV.
President Matura, governing board members, cabinet, and guests, as recommended on this item, This is for lobbying services as a 1 GPA award, and we do recommend approval.
Okay, we do have a speaker for this item, Nicole Lutwick.
Hi, I just wanted to speak on it because previously this had not been on something that would be separately discussed. And I just wanted to make sure people were aware that we're spending out of our M&O budget, right, which we're having an expenditure limit, right? The aggregate expenditure limit is on the M&O budget. This is being spent out of the M&O budget, and this is going to cost us $200,000 over the next 4 years. Obviously, maybe we don't renew it next year, so maybe it's only $50,000 this year. But this is to lobby politicians. I don't know. It just seems odd to me that instead of educating our kids with the money or paying teachers with the money, that we're lobbying politicians with the money. So that's it. Thank you.
Okay, first I'll entertain a motion, then we can have discussion if necessary. May I have a motion to approve, to award RFP 22-06 PV?
So moved.
Any questions or discussion? Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, say nay. Motion passes unanimously. Up next on the agenda is item, let's see, motion to approve job order contracting for StarTech at Paradise Valley High School renovations 18-15 PV. Dr. Bales.
President Mature, governing board members, cabinet guests, in this item, we highlight and recommend this job order for StarTech renovations. I'd like to especially thank our voters for their continued support of PV schools with the passage of voter-approved bonds to maintain our facilities. Great schools improve property values and reduce crime. And in our continued effort to operate with transparency and fiscal responsibility, Ms. Berrigan, will you add a couple of comments for us about this work at PV High School?
Yes, so as shared in the memo with the board, the scope of work for this project is renovations of the administrative areas and classrooms located on the first and second floor of the building. There will be additional work for this project as discussed with the board. I believe it was last March or April. And we would like to get StarTech up and running in good working order, and this will help us to be able to do that. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Mrs. Case?
By changing the order of when things were getting done, what's the benefit? From what I understand, did we change some order of when it was going to happen?
This is the second phase of that
It's the
project.
second phase of it?
It's a second piece. It's still the same order, I think, that we would have done things in, so it doesn't change the order necessarily. This is just a
I
second
thought things were
piece.
combined. I thought it was a cost-saving thing to combine it. I must be thinking of something else then.
Maybe.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? I just wanted to make a comment that I think it's appropriate. We have this evening after our CTE presentation that we had and during our CTE month. So I appreciate funding going towards our CTE programming. So thank you. All right. No. May I please have a motion to approve job order contracting for StarTech at Paradise Valley High School renovations 18-15 PV as presented?
So moved.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Motion passes unanimously. Next on the agenda is approval for recommended 9-12 math curriculum resources adoption. Dr. Bales.
President Mature, governing board members, cabinet, and guests, with a brief summary and additional information, Dr. Corson and Ms. Strang will present this item for a second reading for approval.
Good evening, President Matura, Governing Board members, Dr. Bales, Cabinet, and guests. Tonight is the second reading for our 9-12 math curriculum resource adoption. As a reminder, this adoption results from a committee process of teachers, administrators, and parents evaluating multiple curriculum resources and considering community feedback from a 60-day public viewing. The resources being recommended tonight are for all secondary math courses, including Algebra 1-2, Geometry, Algebra 3-4, Pre-Calculus, AP Calculus, College Algebra, Trigonometry, Applied Math, Statistics, and Computer Science, and including all of the Honors, AP, and dual enrollment versions of these courses. The cost of this adoption is just over $2.3 million funded through the District Additional Assistance Override. This adoption is for 7 years. Our secondary math curriculum specialist, Amber Strang, and I are here to answer any questions, and we are recommending approval this evening.
We do have two speakers on this topic first. First, we have Sandra Christensen.
Thank you, Governing Board. And I wanted to say thank you also to the Math Curriculum Committee and allowing us as community members to sit in on some of their meetings. I just wanted to say that I agree with, I spent a lot of time looking through these math books. I went through almost every book, and I agreed with most of the picks that they had. I thought they did a good job of trying to decrease the ones that were really highly polar. So so thank you. I appreciate that as a parent. There were two books that I did want to discuss. The first one was the statistics book. And I know that the committee had indicated that statistics is one of the ones that they have a more difficult time trying to stay away from topics that are polarizing or can be considered political. But the one that they chose, I did happen to review that. And just some of the topics that were a little bit concerning to me were, there was several on immigration reform and a pathway to citizenship. And there was a question on where do immigrants live and statistics on which states have 10% or less versus more foreign-born. And then there was another question on, is it normal to be foreign-born? And then there was one on U.S. residents who are not registered voters and and the one on the registered voters, can they vote? And I mean, to me, it just, kind of was a little off-putting to read that as a parent. There was also some SEL mini lessons on meditation to lessen anxiety. And this is math. This is statistics. So I just didn't feel that it was appropriate to have those items. There was a lot on greenhouse gases, carbon dioxide, not in the form of doing that, but more like encouraging students to have your parents do green cars and things like that. So I just didn't think it was appropriate. And I know I'm running out of time. The second one was the Pearson. I thought it was a very good book. We were already using that for the curriculum, and I thought it could save the district money. I know we're talking a lot about finances, rather than going to a whole new vendor. I thought it might save the money if we used their second choice, which was the Pearson for the algebra ones, because they could keep their math Excel, which my kid really loves, and the book was very good, and there wasn't really any highly polarizing questions in that book. So thank you.
Okay, next is Nicole Lutwick.
Okay, you guys are probably getting tired of hearing me. I'm getting tired of coming up here. So I just have a couple of things that I just wanted to point out. One is I'm noticing that our kids are doing more and more online. Math curriculum is going to be largely online, which does not really give our kids much of an opportunity to show their work. which is not giving our kids much of an opportunity to show their work, which impacts their learning negatively. I haven't seen it, but I would love to see. I know the district's test scores have been declining for the last 5 years. I would love to see if that correlates to our move to going more and more and more online with information. I was just looking at my son's social studies homework last night. It's all online, and it's not great. It's just not great. In addition to that, the problem is we have some sensitive things in this curriculum. And I know you guys have told us in the past that when sensitive things are in the curriculum, we have teachers who will just not assign that part, or they'll add context to it. And I'm telling you right now, I'm working through social studies, and they're not. Instead, they're saying, this is the curriculum, the district approved, this is what I have to teach, this is how I have to teach it. You're putting teachers in a really difficult spot to give them things that you want them to ignore without the tools to know what they're supposed to ignore. If you approve it, they're going to teach it. So all of those studies that say, Republicans are racist in the statistics, you're hoping they're going to go ahead and just not teach that. Well, why? Why? Why would they not pick that one? What reason do they have? Anyhow, so I guess my 3 points are: a lot of online work does not allow them to show their work. The more online work, it seems like the lower our test scores are going, and it's unfair to put teachers in a position to add context or to avoid divisive topics, because you guys are the ones who are supposed to tackle that topic for them. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, does anyone have any questions for Dr. Corson? Mrs. Case?
Thank you. I had some questions. I've been communicating with the math teacher about a lot of these different math things, and one of the questions that we discussed was, are we going to have a book per child or not? We are. And my next question is, and I know a parent just talked against it, is it necessary to have a book per child? And is it cost saving? Once you buy the book, do you have to buy the book for number of students for how many, let's say 10,000 books or what? I don't know. I don't know how what number. I'll just say 5,000. So if there's 5,000 books purchased, does that allow for 5,000 students to be online using the materials online? How does that equate? I don't know.
Yeah, excuse me, Ms. Case, I'm happy to answer that question for you. The vendors do package both the online portal access as well as any hard print materials that are provided in the adoptions. And so you are correct, I believe, in that if there are 5,000 textbooks ordered, that means that there are 5,000 students that have online access.
And so if you only ordered 4,000 books, you wouldn't have 5,000 online.
That is correct. They come bundled.
They come bundled one-on-one.
Yes.
Okay, I wanted to.
And there is no cost savings in working with the vendors to purchase one without the other. They come packaged together.
They come packaged together. It is my understanding from what we discussed last time that teachers would be able to see where a student was not understanding. Is that correct? With this new math adoption, that it had some ways that they could assess where the student was at the time.
Ms. Case, I believe that you're referring to some of the online programs, both the ALEC, which is primarily at the Algebra 1, 2, Geometry, and 3, 4 level, which would be an online supplement, which is what we sometimes call adaptive curriculum. And so what that it does is it allows students to work through concepts, and it provides teachers rich data in terms of which parts of the problems or standards students are being unsuccessful with so that they can provide immediate intervention. Ms. Strang, anything you would want to add to that?
You did great. Okay, so I just want to do what's best for the students to have the most opportunity to learn and for teachers to be able to see where they're getting it and where they're not getting it. It's kind of, I mean, if you can, if 20 students miss this same problem, that concept needs to be retaught or whatever it is within a classroom. My other comment is I would like to make sure, I'm trying to understand the burdens on teachers right now because it's been a struggle with COVID, teaching online, teaching in person, and kids being absent and trying to catch kids up. I would like for teachers to have the opportunity to, as soon as these materials come, to do their lesson planning so they don't have to use their whole summer to do that. So all the half days, are they designated for the rest of the year and for the beginning of next year to go so these math teachers can get together and plan out lesson plans? Because it's hard to change books.
Absolutely, and we do recognize the impact that that has on teachers as they're having to readjust their planning and preparation for next year. Ms. Strang has been working with her team on a very robust professional development plan and implementation plan, and I'll be happy to have Ms. Strang talk a little bit about that.
Good evening, Mrs. Case. I can't wait to tell you about my plan. Here we go.
Okay, I
So
want to hear about it.
next week, I'm going to meet with all the vendors if all of these resources get approved, and I'm going to get online access right away so our teachers can start playing around with the curriculum and getting familiar with it. By April, all sites are going to have their physical resources, their textbooks, their teachers' editions, and so forth. On April 5th, all teachers are going to attend a workshop at North Canyon High School in person, and they will receive training based on the course that they teach or that they're going to teach next year, because they should know their schedules, tentative schedules at that time. And they'll go to breakout sessions based on whatever training they want to receive from our 4 vendors. Then during April and May, I'm going to provide PD courses for teachers to attend on their own. Those would be virtual. I'm going to have those recorded, so if teachers can't make that based on their schedule, they could go at another time and watch those recordings. Those will all be housed on the math curriculum website. Speaking of the math curriculum website, I'm going to have a page there that has all updates, resources, videos, links, everything they need separated by course. So it's a perfect hub for teachers to go to for the resources they need. Virtual PD will continue throughout the first quarter and all throughout the next year. I want to use all of the PD and training that comes from these vendors as much as possible so that our teachers feel prepared and ready. They can choose to use their summer if they want to, but I want to provide as many opportunities fourth quarter and then also first quarter when we return. And then don't forget August 3rd and 4th when we come back, I'm going to have more training that's in person as well.
Okay, thank you. It sounds like you're trying to do what's best to help the teachers, and if you have happy teachers, you have happy students. So I appreciate that understanding of the, I spoke to a parent that was on the committee, and he said there was math teachers went into it saying, no, we don't want to change. We like what we have. And by the end of going through it, they changed their minds because they realized it was so beneficial. So I just want to make sure we're protecting the teachers and helping them all that we can.
Absolutely. That is my goal. I think the teachers in Paradise Valley Unified School District are amazing humans. They're doing such great things in the classroom, and I want to support them as best they can. I think in these past 2 years, we've all realized that we can do hard things, and they're resilient, and they're going to do great with this new curriculum.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? All right. May I please have a motion for approval of recommended adoption of the 9-12 math curriculum resources to be implemented beginning in the 22-23 school year?
So moved.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes unanimously. Next on the agenda is approval of revisions to Governing Board Policy A. Dr. Bales.
President Mature, with a brief and additional information, Dr. Jaros will present this item for second reading and a recommendation for approval of Policy A. Dr. Jaros.
President Matura, Dr. Bales, Cabinet, and members of the audience, I present to you tonight the second reading of revisions to Governing Board Policy A, which identifies our district's vision, mission, and values. Since this is the second reading tonight, I will briefly review our process for creating these revisions. Then I will share with you our recommendations. Again, this is a second reading for these revisions, so we will be looking for approval of this policy change. The items presented tonight are the work of our design team, which was facilitated by Dr. Connie Kam of Kam Solutions. Our design team consists of our cabinet and members of each stakeholder group, which has been instrumental in providing a well-rounded lens on creating a direction for the district. As I shared in the last meeting, our strategic planning process includes 3 phases. We've just completed the mission, vision, and values portion, which I'm presenting tonight. And then we are starting to develop our strategic goals and commitments, and then we will begin to operationalize that by creating strategic goal action steps at district and building level, at the building level. Our recommendation for a vision statement is every learner empowered for a lifetime of success. I want to remind you that the committee created several versions of this statement using community survey feedback and governing board suggestions to land on this final revision. Our recommendation for our mission statement is we engage, inspire, and nurture students through high-quality instruction, meaningful educational opportunities, and dynamic learning experiences. The statement reflects the multifaceted nature of education, that teaching involves more than just providing instruction and opportunities to grow and learn. It includes moments of encouragement and support and building relationships to help support the uniqueness of each student. Our recommendations for value statements begin with identifying the following values: student focus, innovation, collaboration, integrity, growth, and respect. You'll notice that student focus is in red, and on the coming slides, other words will be highlighted in red that have been changed since the first reading. Student focus was initially in a different tense and had an ED at the end of it. It has been changed to, as you see it here, to be more consistent with the other values. Each value is further described through a value statement and descriptors to better demonstrate how the value can be demonstrated. By being student-focused, for example, we approach each decision and interaction with every student's success and well-being as a priority. You'll also notice a change from the last reading where we, with these descriptors, each of the descriptors initially had the word by embedded in the descriptors and the bullet points, but we modified the format so that we can be more flexible in using this material as a standalone in different settings, such as the district's webpage. Innovation means that we nurture creativity, curiosity, and strategic thinking through dynamic learning experiences, and that should have been highlighted as well. We had thinking and reasoning the last time. We've just changed that down to strategic thinking. And we've also modified the descriptor there for solving problems collaboratively. Initially, the phrasing was problem solving, and again, to be consistent, we made the modification that you see. Through collaboration, we cultivate respectful and meaningful relationships to support high expectations and a culture of growth. Through integrity, we model character, equity, and ethical behavior in all that we do. The design team recognized that part of our students' education is in the behavior we model, and these actions are important to being a part of a strong community. By valuing growth, we foster continuous progress, development, and learning. And again, while we recognize the importance of student achievement, the design team felt it necessary to also acknowledge that this can look different for each student and that we should celebrate individual and organizational growth in our process of improvement. And through respect, we model civility, dignity, and thoughtful consideration in our communication and actions. In addition to our vision, mission, and value statements, we are also recommending that we continue with our motto of a journey of excellence. Again, as a reminder, our next steps in creating the strategic plan for district improvement will be to establish broad goals and commitments, which will take place between now and April, and then we will begin to operationalize those goals. At this time, I'm open to questions or feedback, and we also recommend your approval on these changes.
Does anyone have any questions or comments? Mrs. Greenberg?
Thank you, Mrs. Matura, and thank you, Dr. Jarris. I had a chance, unfortunately, today, not earlier, to go through again and just, really sort of look at it, try to look at it with fresh eyes. And I just have a couple, I think, little things, or I hope little things, that I'd like to throw out there. In the student focus value statement, and Dr. Bales and I talked about this briefly before the meeting started. I know that we are not numbering, I should pull it back. we're not numbering any of these statements. We're not prioritizing. We're not whatever. But in student focus, when we say we demonstrate this value by, the last bullet point says prioritizing. And it feels to me that maybe that should be the first bullet point, that even though we are not technically prioritizing these bullet points, when people read, they're going to read them top to bottom, and it's going to feel that there is an order there. So I would just like to throw out there that perhaps putting prioritizing resources to have the greatest impact on student success go first, just because I think it also underscores everything we're trying to do with student focus. So that's a thought I had on that one. And again, I think everything that's here is great. But I would ask the board to, consider perhaps just changing that order. The comma is a comma. I don't have to bring that one up. There's a comma needed in the growth value statement. We use a that and a which, and we just need a comma before the which. And yeah, so that's an easy one. And the only other thing, and I truly don't mean to sound nitpicky or whatever, we've been using a journey of excellence for a long time. And I know there is a difference between what a motto is, what a tagline is, what a slogan is, and maybe I should be looking at Matt on all of this. Is this our motto? I mean, is a journey of excellence, do we want to call it our motto? To me, it's more than that. And I'm not sure that there's really a word to describe it. So I'm just kind of saying, do we need to describe it within our policies? I don't know.
Mr. Droege, would you like to provide some commentary?
I'd love to. A journey of excellence is definitely part of our brand, and it would remain part of our brand.
Right.
I believe that the intention here is to solidify it as an official motto as well. To your point, making it more than just a tagline at the bottom of our logo.
Okay. Thank you.
And Mrs. Case?
Not to be disagreeable, Anne, Mrs. Greenberg, but on the student focus one, I like that if it is, I know it's not supposed to be in an order, but what you said, I like caring about, believing in, and holding ourselves and students accountable for high academic achievement. I like that to be first. To me, that's more important than any of the other ones. So I guess we look at things differently. And I understand the other one, and I think it's of importance, but I don't know. I like that other one, caring about, because that's what teaching is, and that's what we do, is care about our students. So it's anyway, I like that one first, but whatever.
Mrs. Greenberg?
The reason it sort of struck me as putting the first one, the prioritizing first, is because the overall statement is talking about student success. And so it seemed like when we say we're prioritizing resources to have the greatest impact on student success, that would be the first thing we would do. And then everything else that's under it. That was where it hit me.
I see where you're saying, but you could have all the resources and not care, and it wouldn't matter. So I hear what you're saying.
Anyone want to weigh in on this?
Do I want to weigh in? Not really. I know, this is the one time Boy Scouts should be here so they could see us having like some, not argue, some constructive discourse around issues, yes. I have to say, I agree with Mrs. Case on this, because to me, caring about and believing in kids is the #1 job. And we could have all the resources in the world, and if we didn't care about kids, it wouldn't matter. So that is But remember, I'm a social worker, not an accountant, not, I'm not a numbers person. I'm a feel person. So that feel makes me like that first. Now, could we reorder them and move that higher? Maybe. Does it make a difference? That's what I'm not sure. Like, who's looking at this? Everyone should be looking at this. This is really important. But I just want to, I do think that caring about is really important. That's what our teachers do every day in schools, is care.
Mr. Laney.
Yeah, I have a comment about it. Usually when people read paragraphs, they remember the first and the last line mostly. So for those two things to be there in those two positions, I think that would be great.
And I also do like having caring be the first thing that pops out at you. So I do. I would like to keep the order the way it is now. Any other? Okay.
So just to be clear, what I'm hearing in the recommendation for Ms. Chisholm is that the motion on the revisions includes the hyphen under the mission statement that was in the presentation, but not necessarily in the backup materials, okay? And number 2, we add a comma under the growth value statement after critical thinking. And the rest is presented for approval as is.
All right. May I please have a motion to approve revisions to Governing Board Policy A as presented with the changes that Dr. Bales just outlined?
So moved.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Motion passes unanimously. Next on the agenda is approval of additional sick leave for COVID-19. Dr. Bales.
President Mature, Governing Board members, Cabinet, and guests, with a brief summary and additional information, Dr. Holmes will present this item.
Madam President, members of the board, as you are aware, in 2021, we offered a temporary leave benefit to our employees who contracted COVID-19, and that expired on December 31st. The very next thing that happened is the state, as you know, experienced an extreme spike in cases. We experienced a lot of employee illness in the month of January, and in recognition of that and wanting to provide some additional relief to our employees, this item would provide 5 additional sick leave days for all of our employees who had not already received that benefit. And for those that maybe received a day or two, it would provide them an amount, the difference between 5 and what they received. So we are recommending approval, and I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Any questions?
I just want to clarify, it's retroactive to January 1, 2022.
We actually can't do that. What this actually does is it provides additional days to their bank. So if they used days in January, they would effectively be replenished.
And do our employees need to do something to receive that, or will the benefits department just be working?
We will automatically load them.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
You bet.
Any other questions? May I please have a motion to approve additional sick leave for COVID-19 as presented?
So moved.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Motion passes unanimously. Next on the agenda is approval of a 1% base pay one-time payment for ESI employees. Dr. Bales.
President Mature, Governing Board members, Cabinet, and guests, and with another brief summary and additional information to explain our ESI and this 1%, Dr. Holmes.
Madam President, members of the board, we recently provided a one-time 1% payout for all of our employees, but did not include our ESI employees. These are our employees that are part of our phased retirement program. We intend for them to receive that same benefit because their contracts are structured differently. We have to request explicit approval for this. So this would provide our ESI employees with a one-time 1% on base payout. We recommend approval, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? I do have one question and wondering, is this something that will be written into future contract negotiations where we will remember this group. I mean, it was a unique year that we were offering this, but now that we've noticed that there's this group that kind of fell through the cracks, that moving forward, we'll have them as part of the original contract negotiations.
You know, their contracts are with a separate company. So that's something that we could look at, but they are in fact employed by a third-party company.
Okay,
But
great.
we can look at that.
I think, Ms. President Matura and governing board members, what you'll see is should we have contingency language again in next year's contract for our employee groups, we would probably include separate language to address this item so that it is clearer for this group as we move forward.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right, may I please have a motion to approve 1% base pay one-time payment for ESI employees as presented?
So moved.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes unanimously. Next on the agenda is acceptance of the 2021 audit reports issued on 12/13/2021 for the 2020-2021 fiscal year. Dr. Bales.
President Matura, governing board members, cabinet, and guests. Ms. Berrigan will give us a brief summary of some additional information on this item. It is unique, and it is the first time as a result of legislative action a year ago in last year's session. Ms. Berrigan.
Thank you, Dr. Bales, President Matura, and governing board members. I have some good information for us on our external audit this year. I get a little bit excited about it. I recognize that everybody's not as excited as I am. But I'll go through it as quickly as possible while still being clear. The objective is to review the purpose, scope, and results of the annual financial audit and the various pieces within that. And this is the agenda of the items that we will go through. Starting with our audit requirements in ARS 15914, we are required as school districts to have an audit and the completion of the USFR compliance questionnaire if we have more than $2 million. In our budget annually. We certainly have more than $2 million in our budget annually. Additionally, if districts expend more than $750,000 in federal funds, then we also have to have the federal single audit, and we have more than $750,000 in federal revenues. Then, as Dr. Bales shared, in spring of 2021, the Arizona legislature passed legislation requiring governing boards to take a roll call vote. So you will have a roll call vote tonight, which is a little unusual. And you will then vote yay or nay on that at that time. Additionally, we then upload all of the files to the Department of Education so that the public has access to them all in one place. They have all of the districts there at the Department of Education, as well as providing them to the county school superintendent office. In case you don't know, our audit process goes through this order a couple of times. We start by engaging with our external auditors who are contracted through procurement that we have done, and that is through the competitive bid process. And fiscal year 21 was the 5th year. We do the contract for 5 years. That was the final year of our contract, so we'll be working to develop a new contract for audit moving forward for the next 5 years. Once the year is getting towards being complete, we send all of our financial data to the auditors, and then they look through all of that data, determine what field work they would like to see from us, send us back those field work requests. Our team, mostly in the finance department, puts together all of that work, prepares the documentation, and when the auditors come out for their first round of audit, that can usually be in the June, July, or August timeframe. Then they look at all of this documentation that we've provided for them. We always get excellent feedback from our auditors, which are Heinfeld and Meach, and they appreciate how well we put together all of that documentation for them, that it is in good order, that it is easy to understand and easy to find things, and then they also know who they can ask questions of when they have questions. Once they're done with their field work, they leave us for a little bit, and then they come back in the October or November timeframe. They have sent us new requests for additional field work, usually in different areas of the audit, and we get some more documentation prepared for them, set them in a room for a week, and let them add it, and then they ask us any questions that they might have. For our audit reports that we issue, we first issue a communication to the governance. We have the comprehensive annual financial report, which is now known as the annual comprehensive financial report. Then we have the single audit reporting package and the Uniform System of Financial Records compliance questionnaire. Starting with the communication to the governance letter for us this year, there were no difficulties encountered in performing the audit, which we want to hear. No disagreements with management, also a good thing, and that management provided all of the required representations. As mentioned, Heinfeld and Meach are auditors. They are the auditors for most of the school districts. I would say about 90% of the school districts in the state of Arizona. So they're very familiar with school district work and our financial system and auditing school districts. And they complied with all of their required independence requirements. Next, for the annual comprehensive financial report, we put together from that all of that financial work, this fairly significantly sized report, 174 pages this past year. We received an unmodified, which doesn't sound like it makes a whole lot of sense, but essentially, as I put in parentheses there, that means a clean opinion, that looked good. All of our financials looked good from the auditing perspective in the independent auditor's report. And then listed there is just sort of a index of the full comprehensive financial report and what's discussed in there, the management's discussion and analysis and the various pieces that covers. And then there are full fund financial statements as well as notes to financial statements. Not everybody understands the financial statements, so we try to put those notes in there to help them understand some of the details a little more clearly. Additionally, there's some required supplementary information. And then we have fund financial statements and schedules as well, followed by a statistical section that seems to get larger and larger every year. But there are often lots of data requests from various folks in the state of Arizona, and so we try to provide that information in our statistical requests. Much of this is also very important when we receive our bond ratings, and we did bond rating calls this last week, and we'll have some more information on that in a moment. With the single audit reporting package, there are two primary sections to this, and then in the first section, we did note one significant deficiency in the internal control over the financial reporting for our budgeting process. That was primarily due to the transition to the new financial software that we had discussed. A corrective action plan was made, but effectively it was already taken care of. We knew before we uploaded the annual financial report that there was the concern there. We made that fix, but we also provided a corrective action to the auditors. And then there were no significant deficiencies or material weaknesses identified in internal controls over the major programs. In the second section, they note in the documentation that it is in their opinion that the Paradise Valley Unified School District complied in all material respects with the compliance requirements that they refer to. And something very important and very exciting, we had a finding that was in our single audit report for 5 years in a row. It started off as a significant deficiency, moved to a material weakness, and was a material weakness for 3 years in a row. Then went backwards again, which is in a good way, to just a significant deficiency in the year prior, fiscal year 20. In fiscal year 21, it was no longer identified as a finding. And I want to note that, yes, I'm glad you're excited. That is primarily due to the change in financial accounting software. And I know Mrs. Felton in the time before me being here had shared the importance of moving to a financial system that had better accounting practices in that. So in doing so, in the first year of implementation, they were able to get this 5-year finding off. And I give that credit to all the folks that were here before. I only finished out the last 3 months. So. The next piece is the Uniform System of Financial Records Compliance Questionnaire. This measures compliance with the measure against the questionnaire that the Office of the Auditor General puts out. These are some of the areas they review, such as budgeting and cash receipts and procurement, and there's a lot of areas that they review. Some of the non-financial areas they tend to take a look at as well as information technology and human resources, the documentation that we're keeping required for all of our staff. As always, and with any district in the state of Arizona, there tend to be minor non-compliance items that were noted. And we were 92% compliant would be one way to put it. In other words, we were able to answer yes for compliance for 92% of the questions. The year prior, fiscal year 20, we had 18 findings for the compliance questionnaire. And this past year for fiscal year 21, we only had 10 findings, again, primarily due to the switch over to the financial software. So things are getting better. With the audit results, they were issued on time and submitted for the awards for the Association of School Business Officials deadline that was December 31st, as well as the Government Finance Officers Association Award. So we hope to receive those awards yet again for fiscal year 21. Also, we met the continuing bond disclosures deadlines of February 1st. It is important when issuing bonds that those who are interested in pursuing bonds from the Paradise Valley Unified School District know what our financial statements look like, and so we need to make sure that we get those in on time. As I mentioned, I did bond rating calls last week with Moody's and then a bond rating call on Friday with Fitch, and Moody's we did first, and they have issued our rating for this year. We are AA1 again, so that is good news. We maintained our rating, and that provides us the better your rating, the lower the borrowing rate. Just like the better your personal credit score, the better your borrowing rate for anything financially related. Additionally, all required reports need to be submitted by March 31st. Our wonderful people and staff have already got all of those things done, so we're well ahead of time. With that, I want to thank some very important people who helped make this audit a success, starting with Vanessa Shapiro. She's our director for the finance area. Kathy DiStefano, our internal auditor, who coordinates the work with our auditors. Rob Dethridge, who makes sure that our ADM is on track. That is a very important piece to the compliance within the audit. All of our finance department, those in technology, as well as the human resources department. And one more person I would like to mention again, Mrs. Laura Felton. She made sure it all happened for the bulk of the year. I appreciate the work of all these people. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
And we recommend approval.
And we recommend approval, for sure.
Does anyone have any questions? No, thank you for your work on this.
Thank you.
May I please have a motion to approve acceptance of 2021 audit reports issued on 12/13/2021 for the 2020-2021 fiscal year as presented?
So moved.
Ms. Chisholm, may I please have a roll call vote?
Mrs. Greenberg,
Aye.
Mrs. Bacon,
Aye.
Mr. Laney,
Aye.
Mrs. Matura,
Aye.
Mrs. Case.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Next on the agenda is consideration to approve purchase from current Mojave Cooperative Contract 18F-RWC-0904. Dr. Bales.
President Matura, governing board members, cabinet, and guests, with a brief summary, additional information, and a thanks to our voters again. Ms. Berrigan, would you please present this item?
Absolutely. Thank you, Dr. Bales, President Matura, and governing board members. We will be purchasing 10 special needs buses. 2023 is the year of those buses, so they'll be nice and brand new. As noted in here, we were able to do some trade-in credit with some of the buses that we have, which helps us to bring down the price of each bus. And we will use this to hopefully provide some more efficient routes. Our current special education buses seat typically up to 14 students. There's not always 14 students on them. And this will do 18 students. We don't want to do too much more than that. There's a lot that needs to be managed and maintained on a special education bus. But in doing so, we hope to be able to effectuate some more efficient routes. And with that, I would also like to thank our voters, as always. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Do we have any questions or comments? Okay, may I please have a motion to approve purchase from current Mojave Cooperative Contract 18F-RWC-0904 as presented?
So moved.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes unanimously. Next on the agenda is ratification of vouchers. May I please have a motion to ratify vouchers as submitted?
So moved.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay.
Mrs. Matura, I will abstain as I always do when ASBA is a payor in our vouchers.
Motion passes unanimously with with Mrs. Bacon's abstention. Next on the agenda is gifts and donations. Well, we appreciate all the donors that donate to our district and appreciate that so many in our community do take an interest in our students and in our schools. I would like to make special thank you to a few of the items on our gifts and donations report this evening. We wanted to thank Johnston's, who donated $3,000 to each of our traditional high schools for faculty appreciation and staff recognition. Miss Angela Clipper donated $1,500 to the National NJHS field trip for Mountain Trail Middle School. The Thunderbirds Foundation donated $1,000 to boys golf at North Canyon High School. Dave and Renee Ryan donated school uniforms to Palomino Intermediate School in the amount just under $2,000. John and Jessica Clark donated $8,600 to the district for AVID programs. And the Sandpiper PTO donated $20,000 for turf for their outdoor classroom. So again, thank you to all of our donors. Thank you anyone who is here representing those organizations or people. And thank you to all of our donors that we did not mention this evening. May I have a motion for acceptance of gifts and donations, please?
So moved.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Motion passes unanimously. There are no other items for discussion this evening, no items for discussion this evening. And next on the agenda is call for executive session. May I have a motion, please?
Move the governing board call for an executive session in accordance with Arizona Revised Statutes, which reads as follows. Arizona Revised Statutes 38431.03.A5. Discussion or consultations with designated representatives of the public body in order to consider its position and instruct its representatives regarding negotiations with employee organizations regarding the salaries, salary schedules, or compensation paid in the form of fringe benefits of employees of the public body. Our purpose is to meet for instruction and direction.
All those in favor, say aye.
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 All those opposed, say nay. Motion passes unanimously. The regular meeting is recessed at 8:36 p.m. to go into executive session, and we will reconvene after we return from executive session. We are reconvening our regular meeting at 9:35 p.m. Next on the agenda is instruction to administration. May I have a motion, please?
Move the governing board instruct the administration to continue with interest-based negotiation with our employee groups as directed.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Motion passes unanimously. Before we adjourn, I would like to remind you that the next regular board meeting will be held on Thursday, March 10th, 2022 at 7 p.m. May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Motion passes unanimously. Meeting is adjourned.